Hi everybody, this is Audrey Yeager. I am super excited to be guest designing today for Altenew. I am using the Hello Sweet Garden Creativity Kit, which has lots of amazing goodies in it. So I'll be using this Garden Picks 3D die set, this Moroccan tile stamp set, the wood veneers, and this large Hello die as well. So I'm going to start with the dies, the garden pick dies, and I've gone through my cardstock stash to find some matching colors in a gradient, and I'm using 4 colors for the flowers, for most of the flowers. And so I love how these die sets have on the front, they show you the shape and what color each shape should be. But it was a little tricky at first trying to figure out which shape went with each flower, because I'm trying to figure out, what color I should be doing each die. So obviously the dark color, the base color, is the easiest because it's just the open die, and then just trying to find all the other layers and where they go. So I started with the base color, and then I went with the smaller bits because those ones were easy to find, and then I just had to try to figure out all of the shapes in between. And I'm just laying them out on my my die cutting plate here, and I'm going to make some strips of paper in a second. Okay, so once I have those all figured out, I'm going to just cut some bits of my cardstock here and just layer them right over the top of my dies. I know I should probably, there's lots of ways you could do this. I wanted to cut all 4 flowers at once. You could take 1 flower at a time and do just a tiny square for each flower, for each color, but I'm trying I'm trying to make the process go faster. So I'm trying to do it all at once. You see my paper move there at the end, so I had to redo the dark color. I had to redo a couple of them because my paper shifted, and I guess that's what I get for trying to cram it all onto my die cutting plate at once. But once I got them all cut, they were very easy to layer. So I'm just taking the again, the dark of each one, and then the next lighter color and the next lighter color, and layering them on top. So I'm using the picture here in the top right that's on the front of the die set to help figure out exactly how to position these, because there are a couple little tiny bits for some of these flowers. And the other thing I realized when doing this is it's okay if you miss a teeny tiny bit. You're probably the only one who's going to notice if you don't put that one petal highlight on on the edge of the flower. So it's totally fine to not use all the parts. You'll still get beautiful flowers from these. So again, this is my first time using a die set like this, so I guess it was a little bit of a learning curve, and I probably it's kind of like putting a puzzle together. When you have the picture there, but you're like, does this piece go here? So it was a little after I got the hang of it, it seemed to go pretty quickly. Okay, so I think I was missing a little piece, or I couldn't find it, so I had to cut it again. I must have accidentally thrown it out, or it got lost somewhere. So I will cut another piece. So after I did that, I thought, you know what, I don't want to have to do this every time. So here is my little tip. If you have this set, or any set where you have multiple layers, take a Sharpie and label your pieces. So I went through with a Sharpie and I labeled each flower A, B, C, or D. And then I labeled the bottommost color, the dark color, like A1, and then A2, A3, and A4. And so that next time if I want to just do 1 flower, I can pick out the flower and just pick the 4 dies that go with it right away because I have them labeled there. So that definitely helped me, because I'm going to go through and do this again with pink papers, which you can see over there on the right. So, don't be afraid to write on your dies with a Sharpie and label them so that you know which one is which. I'm just taking my fine line bottle and adding a little bit of glue to each flower. So then I went through and did the pink flowers, which you can see there, and then I won't show you that process again. I did a couple extra flowers of the pink, And I'm going to go through and do the leaves. You can see I've already cut out a whole bunch. I couldn't decide in the colors for the leaves if I wanted to go with like a more minty green or a more lime green. So I'm going to do both and make those. I also really love the negatives when you use, like I just held up there, the little rectangle that's left over after you punch the leaf shape out. I threw them away because I probably won't ever use them, but you know, that's kind of a neat idea to use the negatives of the papers that you use. So here are all those gorgeous layered flowers. You can see I've done the centers of some of those flowers as well. I did the little yellow flowers. And then I cut the large hello from the Mega Hello die. And I cut that in a navy. I didn't want to use black, although I do use some more black bits on my page here. And I'm going to take out, this is the Sweethearts wood veneer, and I'm going to cut out just the pieces I need. So it's going to say hello sweet friends, and the sweet friends is going to be from the wood veneer. And I picked, by the way, I picked the colors for my flowers from the colors in my photo. So the pink flowers are picking up on the coral and pink in my daughter's coat there, and the kind of orangey colors are actually in our puppy's fur. So it kind of, he has kind of that copper colored fur in some spots. So that's where I decided on my colors from. So I'm trying to arrange the word sweet friends, and the way that the F and the D in friends are angled, and the way the word sweet is, they just didn't nestle in nicely. Sometimes you get lucky and you get, you know, when you have a two words like that, they'll nestle in together nicely, but these did not so much. So there's a space between sweet and friends, but I'll just tuck a flower in there and kind of close that space up. So I'm just going to tuck all my bits in here, you know, layer the flowers with the leaves. And I decided to use both the mint and the green leaves because I think I love the contrast of colors there. And I'll embellish the word hello a little bit and straighten that out. So I put that to the side, and I got a separate piece of white cardstock. And I'm going to stamp with this Moroccan tile stamp on the background of my white cardstock. I decided that I was going to do some embossing, which I haven't done in a very long time. So I broke up my Versamark pad, and I'm going to press down. And I am not concerned about lining this pattern up. I kind of want the, you know, I don't want it to be perfect. I like a little bit of a messy look. I'm trying to line it up a little bit. But again, I'm not concerned with it because I know that a lot of the flowers and the photo are going to cover up a lot of the seams there. It's so magical when you can't see anything when you press with the Versamark, but then you add your embossing powder on, you can see all the really cool lines. So my plan here is to use the white embossing powder as kind of like a resist. So once I melt this embossing powder here, I'll go back and I'll add some more stamps around the whole page. But then I'll go back and use some mixed media over it, but the lines will stay white. So you can see those, the powder melting there. And as it melts, it turns, kind of gets reflective, and you can see the lines stand right out. I love that. It's so satisfying to watch embossing powder melt. I had a couple colors. I don't have a ton of embossing powders, but I had like a minty blue color that I almost used that because I'm planning on doing my background in blue, but I kind of, I haven't done it in a long time, used embossing powder in a long time, so I decided just to go with the white because I know that was, you know, that color works with whatever I put in the background, so I'm going to go with that. So you can see my lines barely there, and I just gave my paper a quick spritz of water so that my mists would blend a little bit better. And I am spraying with just a couple different mists here. Some of these are almost gone, like this teal mist here. So I added a little bit of water to that. I'm going to go for a little bit darker blue. And again, I'm just blending in with my paintbrush and some water. And you can really see that pattern start to stick out there in the background. And then I decided I want a little bit of a bright punch there, so I added some like a citron green. And now I'm going to go back with the rest of the stamps. I'm sorry you have to see the back of my head. And these are the stamps. These stamps fill in the shapes of the Moroccan tiles. And I'm taking some different color inks, some stamps here, and I'm just testing out colors in the background where I know that my photo is going to cover up because I wasn't sure how dark I wanted to go. So I am dabbing the stamp on the stamp pad and I'm stamping off just slightly on a paper towel because I just want a very light, I don't want a super crisp stamp, and I don't want it covered completely. I just want kind of like a, what do they call it, ghost stamping? I'm not sure if that's the right word. But I'm stamping off once on a paper towel just to get a little bit of a lighter stamp. And I'm just trying to find the insides, trying to find in the pattern where these shapes are. This stamp set is so cool. It reminds me so much, I quilt as well, and it reminds me so much of a quilting pattern where depending on what colors you put where in the shapes, you can just get so many amazing secondary patterns. So I really want to go back with this stamp set and, you know, fill in different sections with different colors. So I also use a little tiny, like star-shaped pattern as well there, and to fill in some of the other spaces. So I love how that looks. I love mixing geometric prints with florals. I just love that combination because I just think they offset. You have the hard lines of a geometric pattern and then you have the soft edges of a floral, and I just think they complement each other so well. So I had my everything laid out on a separate sheet of white cardstock, so now I'm just going back and pulling that off and layering it over my background. My background paper did warp a little bit. I have it taped down with some painter's tape to my desk so that the edges don't curl up. And that actually seems to help a lot to straighten it out, especially if it's still damp a little bit. I have actually gone through when I have a paper that's really warped, and I'll go through and I will iron it through a piece of parchment paper on a flat hard surface, and that helps straighten it out as well. So I love how that looks. It's so, again, the florals against the geometric pattern, and the colors are so bright and just perfectly, perfectly my daughter, these colors. I wanted to map my photo a little bit. I decided to go with a bold little houndstooth print, and I happened to have some washi tape that matched. So I'm just going to add a little bit to the top and bottom edge here just to kind of create that flow with your eye. It draws your eye down and across the page. So I will adhere my picture to the mat, and then I'll pop it off the page with some foam, foam squares, foam craft sheets, that's the word I'm looking for. And then because my flowers are kind of arranged how I want them, I'm just going to go through and just start gluing them down. This one thing that amazed me about this page, I thought about it afterwards, is I hardly use any patterned paper, just a little bit to map my photo, and that's it. I mean, all of this whole page is really about the flowers and the mixed media. So it's kind of fun, and cardstock, I guess. And I don't often use colored cardstock, but this is a great way to use up some of my cardstock stash. I should really just go through while I have it out and make a whole bunch more of these flowers just to have on handy to use on other pages. So I'll just fuss around with the arrangement a little bit here just to get it just right. And this wood veneer is self-adhesive, so it has a really good stick to it. So I'm just going to stick those right down. I do have to go back through, and where I had put the flowers underneath the wood veneer, I add a couple extra drops of glue because it was kind of getting pushed up off the page, so I wanted to make sure that that was very secure. These little yellow flowers, by the way, I ended up, I don't know if I did it already, I ended up cutting them. They're kind of like a cluster of 3 flowers, and I end up cutting the cluster apart. There I go, right there, and just leaving like a bit of 2 flowers and then a single flower. I do leave a couple of the 3 cluster ones, and I will just scatter those around. I like having a really small detail like this, a really small flower. And I'll just tuck those around. So one last thing I do here, I have some white space, some negative space in my photo. I decided to go through with one of the phrases from the stamp set. It says, "Oh, happy day." I'll stamp that in the corner of my photo. I also added a couple of the wood veneer hearts scattered around, and that's that. And here are some close-ups. You can see the beautiful layers of those flowers, the resist there, heat embossed background, and just so much goodness here in this kit. So I want to thank the folks at Altenew for inviting me to guest design, and I cannot wait to create more with this kit. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Stay scrappy, friends.